What's up, everybody? This is EsauBlue, and I figured I'd just start a little stream while I'm actually out here mining. Actually, I came out here to mine, and it actually crashed on me. So, starting it all over again. Well, I had Fanfest video going, and for some reason it crashed. I could see if I can get it running again. Load up Chrome. Maybe that's Chrome. Dude. Safari. See if it does it with Safari.
The asteroid is depleted. The asteroid is depleted.
No more Vespa over here, huh? Go to well, get my drones first. You have to make sure you don't leave your drones. Take off and leave them here. They'll be sitting here when they get back unless somebody take them. Let's load it up. Let's go.
Warp drive active.
See you later, alligator. There's nothing over here. They cleaned it out.
Warp drive active.
All right, I'll come over here. And what do they have over here? Yep, there they go. Got those two there. I can get this video back running. It's not even acting right. It's loaded too slow. All right. Guess I need to have that ready to go next time around.
Which is in chat. You'll send it to your in-game character via an email, so it can't be easier than that. All you need to do is make sure you have registered with that bot, and to do that you just type !IGN followed by your in-game name.
So during the AT,
Maybe I have to run it this way and not through video of you all seeing it, but me just hearing it.
We won't have different prizes available for channel points. However, in addition to the CCP skin slot, which everyone can get, we will be having a couple of raffles throughout the weekend to give away some of the amazing Capsuleer Elite 19 skins, which have just landed in the New Eden store. So we're giving away a variety of Battlecruiser skins from that skin line. And we also have some mixed, excuse me, I have to update my language. They formerly known as Mixed Dimensions, some integral reality ship models.
Those models are awesome. They're really cool.
yes, they are.
They're super. So we'll be wrapping off a few of those throughout the weekend. So just keep an eye on Twitch chat for when those raffles go live, and you can hopefully snap yourself up something a little bit extra.
Can I just ask, how excited are you to look down there and see all those people again?
Well, it's a mixture of excitement and fear.
I guess I might have to fast forward a little
It's
bit.
a long way down. These chairs are not
Yeah,
that
it's
stable.
very easy to just
They got a bit of give to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just me, but yeah.
That's the people. That's all of our people. They're
I
here.
know. Actually, yeah. Joking aside, it is amazing to see because like I went to 5 Fanfests, 5 Vegases, like 6 Eve Down Unders over the years, and it was the very first Fanfest I went to that sort of made me realize how amazing this space family that we have is, and to be cut off and isolated from.
There we go. Oh Lord, I gotta mute that stuff.
Heck of a lot of them. It is the most costly battle in EVE Online's glorious history. So credit to you guys. I'm sure, actually I know several of you here have lost Titans in that fight. So it's fine. Yeah, there's landfall beer here. You can drown your sorrows. But yes, not every record has to be PvP related. In fact, Signal Cartel showed us this a few times. Katia Se set the record for the first capsuleer to completely circumnavigate EVE Online. But you know, the apple doesn't fall from the tree. Enrique Arnolds, as you can see here, also from Signal Cartel, took a note from his now CEO Katia and circumnavigated all of New Eden, every single system, in just 224 days. Also, he did this without dying, which is absolutely nuts.
Depleted.
I can barely go anywhere without dying. So congrats to Enrique for your Guinness record, world record. And if anyone thinks that they can top that, you've got 224 days to prove it. We've also welcomed a whole lot of new pilots to EVE Online in the last couple of years, thanks to our Korean localization. Korean is now a supported language, so that is awesome. Hopefully there are some Korean capsuleers here. And then we've also our official relaunch into Japan. I know if you're a fan of the Alliance Hornet Platinum sensitivity, credits this to their success. So already making a mark on New. And if that's not enough, it's not just languages, it's other platforms as well. Our collaboration with Apple brought a native Mac client to EVE Online, supporting the M2 architecture, which is very cool, or the M1 architecture.
I do have the M1.
Again, I've got Titans on the mind, but absolutely fantastic work there. You'll hear a little bit more about that a little bit later on. We've also expanded to the Epic Games Store, so people can find EVE. More people to shoot, always a better thing. And of course, EVE Anywhere, which allows you to play EVE on any browser. And you'll
I tried playing it on my iPad browser, and it's not gonna work.
Probably use that so you can manage your skill queues while you're gone.
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah, that's probably what it's good for. You might can use some basic mining.
Where we're
I could do some basic missioning.
You guys know. But you will soon.
I don't know.
Something exciting.
What's your opinion?
Yeah, and obviously together with you, the game has also been constantly evolving. In the last few years, we saw an abundance of updates, balance changes, live events, technical improvements, and a plethora of new tools for you to play with. And it's always fascinating to see how astute capsuleers try to constantly adapt to the ever-evolving world of EVE Online, often achieving feats maybe as well, but feats that go way beyond our wildest imaginations. And sometimes you just make testicles with the fleet formation feature, and that's okay.
Our relationship with the community is actually something we're really, really proud of. Hearing your feedback, listening to you when there's updates, what you guys want to see, whether it's on the forums, on Reddit, on podcasts, pretty much anywhere. We listen, and we're always happy to have this, like, what I think is an incredibly special relationship with you guys. It's unique to gaming. I can't think of another one that does it, and frankly, we just wouldn't be here without you. So, thank you for that. There are now more ways, though, to chat with us. People here in the audience, you probably know this. We opened our EVE Online Discord server a few months ago and invited you guys here. But anyone watching now, we're officially launching it, so you can go to discord.gg/EveOnline, add the EVE Discord server, you can talk to us, have fun, and especially if you're here at Fanfest, you can coordinate events, see what other people are up to, and just run into random capsuleers. It's a great way to organize, or even just share some great pictures.
Absolutely, and again, at the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that EVE Online would not have been such an amazing, life-changing experience if it wouldn't be for you. And we're continually humbled and inspired by the people in this community, and you guys are what keeps us going. It is an utmost privilege to be a part of this phenomenon that seemingly transcends the digital boundaries of New Eden. And we want to thank you for that, for being here and for deciding to spend your time with us today. And on that note, I would like to invite on stage the CEO of CCP Games, Hilmar Pettersson.
Thank you, Camille. Wow, it's been a while. So, little did we know when we were celebrating the 15 years of EVE Online that there would be a 4-year gap from having Fanfest and having this wonderful experience. Of course, we did madness as usual. People staring at horses, CCP Games, cosplay, amazing times celebrating 15 years of EVE Online. And we did take it on the road, so a lot of us went around the world to meet some of you and some of you in the stream.
I might have to end up fast forwarding some of this.
Little gap year we were planning would turn into 4 years of
I'll tell this to Doc.
just wasn't something we were preparing for. This
Docking permission
process
requested.
of, sharing our passion
Docking
for
request
online
accepted.
is also part of what we do appreciated for us how kind of blinded. Slimmer. And the next one sees.
$12.9 million. There you go. That's a nice little commercial they're doing. A little Rubik's Cube keyboard commercial. Hyper gaming, huh? Okay.
And all that creation and destruction has brought us, back here to Reykjavik for a fantastic weekend where we can talk and breathe and laugh and cry, form new friendships, all in the EVE universe. And it's pretty awesome. Talking about new friends. Over the last couple of years, we've been investing a lot in our new player experience. Really supporting our new players to become stronger cogs in the war machine that EVE is. This steep learning curve. This is an upgraded graph of this learning curve. The steep learning curve to get into New Eden has been a reality from the very beginning. And through numerous attempts, we've tried to soften this curve with various results, to say the least. One key problem that we've always run into is that we've always viewed this as a problem, like, hey, here's a problem, can you fix it? Rather than an ever-evolving, long-term initiative. And that big, huge change that kind of was kicked off at Amsterdam in 2019.
There you go. Now we can see what I'm seeing.
Incredible freedom given to the players that make it their home. In the real side of reality, most people don't have core competencies to live an independent life in their kind of late teens, early 20s, or in my case, much later. You will know why not. So why in the world should Capsuleers be ready to jump into the deep end of the pool after 30 minutes of school? EVE is about world domination or death. Whether it's building the strongest army to crush your enemies or assembling a smarter squadron to
Warp drive
your prey.
active.
It's our role as CCP to prepare the hopefuls cadets into your EVE Online. Because more players equals more content that equals a better game. Through our focus on new players, we've set 3 core design results to help frame the new player conversation going forward and ultimately to victory. The ultimate sci-fi experience. First pillar, pretty cool. I want to take you guys a few years into the future and kind of see how the game has changed. The start of playing EVE gets me hooked from the get-go. I can feel I got just thrown 21,000 years into the future, and I'm intrigued to learn more. I really feel one with the game. Whether I'm blowing up enemies, mining megaroids, or exploring the new frontier, the universe inspires me to push further into the unknown and forge my own adventure. EVE Online is the benchmark of what sci-fi should look and feel like. Easy to grasp, hard to master. I'm coming to EVE decades after it was released. I definitely did not expect to grasp the controls so quickly. It probably helps that I've been playing other games and I've been trading online for a while. I feel like I'm constantly evolving in EVE. Every mission and interaction builds confidence in taking on bigger challenges. When I hit a roadblock, Aura is there to help me. I'm not too worried about catching up with others. It's more about finding my place in the universe and creating my own niche.
I'm listening.
Fulfills my purpose. Eve is a more integrated part of my day-to-day. The relationships that I build are meaningful, and the things that I do satisfy my curiosity. Like in the real world, the single shared universe is filled with all sorts of people with all sorts of interests. This is what makes the world unique, exciting, and unpredictable. But what's always predictable is finding something to do, or the game pointing me towards interesting new challenges. With these principles in hand, we set the EVE Academy teams that are focused on new player experience on a road to a better EVE Online. So, here to talk a little bit more about it, I want to welcome CCP Sledgehammer. He always has something brewing, if it's game design systems, beer, sourdoughs, who knows. And then after him, CCP Nomad, my favorite wormholer. Clicker, green is forward.
Hello everyone, it's actually amazing to see you all here in the flesh again. I'm from Team Odyssey. We're a storyline content team that's part of the Academy segment of EVE Online development. We've spent the last year reimagining what the first moments of gameplay for the new player should be. We're creating a modern, narratively driven storyline experience that introduces players to New Eden while teaching them the basics of the games and its mechanics and showing off its potential. We've leveled up our content authoring capabilities and collaborated very closely with art, audio, cinematics, player research and tool teams to deliver each installment of this exciting and engaging story, starting with the team's first release in September 2021. So, the first chapter of the Air MPE picks up as soon as the player has created a character and opted into the tutorial. We have a cinematic that introduces the player to New Eden and sets the scene for the first moments of gameplay. You can see it here. This is the aftermath of an attack on the air cloning station that you've just woken up in. We worked closely with art, cinematics and audio to create a smooth transition from the cinematic into the game, which you've just seen. We introduced Aura, who guides you through this experience. We also introduced Balin Ferris, who is leading the evacuation of this besieged facility. And we also introduced Vesper Caltrix, who is the VP of Operations for the Association for Interdisciplinary Research. We established our main narrative hook for the story. That is, who is behind this attack? And we did all of this set against the stunning backdrops that really showcase the beauty and potential of New Eden. So, the next installment we released in March earlier this year. In this, we expose the player to mining.
It looks very beautiful.
This is a low barrier, entry into making ISK and EVE Online. So we figured this would be the most sensible.
Is all this available now? I'm ready to start playing.
We teach the player how to mine asteroids, what the difference between ore and minerals are, and what they could be used for. We taught them how to sell the ore that they've gathered and where they can see how much ISK they have, so exposing them to the wallet, all with narrative justification. We hint at how mining is the backbone to the economy of New Eden, that there's a vast machine at work toiling day and night to provide the fundamental ingredients for everything that's built in the cluster. And we also revisited aspects of our September release. We always want to improve what we've released. So we updated the skill and fitting moments in that release to provide better narrative justification and a more solid lesson for the player. As you've seen, in the story so far, we introduced several key characters: Aura, Balin, Vesper, and Elias. We want this to be a character-centered experience. Players form strong emotional connections with well-developed characters, and this in turn promotes immersion and engagement in the universe. We don't want the player to feel as if they're alone on their journey. These characters don't just drive the story along, they're your companions on this adventure. It lets us give each career a relatable representative and use these characters to ease the player into more complicated scenarios and mechanics and systems. As we introduce each of these characters, we want the experience around them to feel like a taste of what it'd be like to be a member of that profession, but just a taste. The basic mechanics or core competencies involved in each of these careers. We We want to give the players the space to become comfortable in the universe and to instill in them the confidence to reach out on their own in New Eden. Underpinning all of this work is an incredibly powerful new content authoring system that we've made alongside the content. We call this Noddy. It's short for the Node Graph Editor. It's highly flexible, letting us trigger a plethora of events from any condition that we can track on the client or on the server. Every piece of UI guidance, action that an NPC takes, goal that a player has to satisfy, or music and cutscenes that play in our experience are all queued up and scheduled by this service and this tool. We built this alongside the Air MPE, and this is very important, but we want this to be the standard tool for content development in EVE moving forwards. We'll talk more about this tomorrow on this stage. The next installment of the Air MPE is going to focus on exploration. We know from survey data that the idea of exploration is what brings a lot of new players into the game. But we don't just want to show them the functionality of a probe scanner or how to hack a cat. We want to instill in them the emotional values of exploration. What's behind that next Stargate? Is there anything interesting in this cosmic signature?
That's what I'm going to start soon. Exploration.
We want to make sure that the player appreciates the scale of the universe, is humbled.
Matter of fact, I'm trying to bring up the training AI. What's her name? Miss Aurora. Where the hell is she at?
I just want to let you know, though, that we're not going to be sitting idle in the meantime.
The asteroid is
As I
depleted.
mentioned, we're dedicated to improving things that we've released. We don't want to fire and forget. We have extensive data points to reference for our entire experience so far. Looking at this, we can see some clear areas for improvement. So part of what we want to do in the next few months is harden up this experience so that we can dive headlong into the next chapter, confident that we've given it our best in the beginning. But that's not all we want to do before then. Career agents. We lead the player to the career agents during their MP as a handoff to find more activity, to become more familiar with other professions. The art team are working on a massive visual update in its early stages for all of the career agent content, and we on Team Odyssey are going to be looking to introduce a guidance layer, assess the rewards.
Okay, why is it not clicking?
Make sure any missing critical information is presented to the player clearly and not buried in local chat. And with Team Pathfinder, we're also looking to give the agent conversation UI an update. We'll have more details on that tomorrow as well. More excitingly for all you guys, I think, is that we're prototyping applying our node graph editor to missions and to existing dungeons. This is in its infancy right now, but this is the focus for the team for the next few months.
Wow.
We'll be here at 12 o'clock.
I want to
We'll
click
talk
on it.
about this if you want to see any juicier details. I'll pass it over to CCP Nomad now, who's going to talk to you more about character progression and career progression. Thank you very much.
Hello, Fanfest.
Hola.
That's a noble goal, isn't it? Keep new players. How do we do that? We focused on one of the possible answers to that question. Just keep them busy. Give them something interesting to do, and they will stay. So what is there interesting to do in EVE? Let's see what you guys have to say about that. Who has seen this? Show of hands. Alright. So this was made by one of you, Untold. I hope I spelled that correctly. And this shows what there is to do in EVE, all kinds of activities. But what it is lacking is just saying what stuff there is to do, but there's no way to explain how to do it. In other words, okay, I want to be an explorer and do hacking. How do I go from here, from seeing this screen, to actually doing it in-game? Before I explain where this is going, I will show you another complexity of EVE. So those are the skill groups. There's 23 of them, and it's already making it difficult to pick what you want to train out of this selection. But what happens when we go deeper?
You know, I did that software update thing, and I don't know if I like the functionality of it. Let me see.
Oh god.
I clicked escape. I came over here
There's
to
461 skills in Eve.
future
And it's not
previews.
easy
This right here, I
decide
guess.
what to train,
Let's see.
when to train. So back in September,
The user interface. How to get used to it.
we released the skill plans. We compiled a list of skills into certified skill plans.
Let me see. I'll give it a chance
And
here.
they take away the complicated
It's just the
flows
functionality
and
of
allow
me
you
highlighting
to
certain
easily
things.
progress your character
It might be
before you
because I'm
know
running a lot
how
of
to
stuff.
do it, really. So certified skill plans not only provide you with the list of skills, but also with the information about suggested fitting for particular activity and the links to Regency, so you can find the content that might be of interest to you. Then 2 months later, after September, we released the corporation skill plans, so you guys can do this help for your recruits. Thank you. So we solved the skills problem, kinda, with the skill plans so far. How do we deal with this monster? Let me introduce you to Air Career Program. It guides you through a multitude of activities in each career, so you can easily access and experience all areas of the game. This new system monitors everything you do, no consent needed. Right. It provides you with the rewards for completed goals, allows you to get a good picture of what there is to do in EVE, and to choose who I want to be, what I want to be doing, what I should be doing now. As I said, it tracks all your actions, gives the rewards, including skill points and skins. This is mostly focused for new players, but all of you will experience this in one way or another. It pushes you to interact with all types of gameplay, and it gives you career-related free expert systems to allow you to try out ships before you train into them. So then you can make the choice of what to train after you have tried it out. Finally, it creates capable EVE players who know what to do and how to do it. A couple of examples of goals. In total, there's 188 of them from various areas of the game. Some require focused effort, like hacking 20 containers in null. You need to make a choice to do so. Others will be fulfilled passively, like randomly warp disrupting people.
The asteroid is depleted.
And in some situations, the players might need your veteran help to fulfill their goals, like here. Like mentioned before, the Air Carrier program will provide the players with free expert systems that will allow them to try out multiple ships. And you can see in the next slide, you will see the list of ships. But there's one expert system for each career, and they will be provided as a reward for completing that career agent missions. So very early in the game, players will have access to a bunch of ships that otherwise they would have to train for. So those are the ships that the new players will be able to fly without having to train them. So what else we are working on besides the Air Carrier program? How about this? Yes! Alright, if you are interested in any of what I said or CCP/Hammer just said, come and see us tomorrow at the same stage at 12. Thank you.
Thanks. Wow, pretty exciting stuff. So
It is.
we aim to teach players core competencies by folding the lessons into an engaging narrative that gives people purpose and goals rather than sending them to school. We all to make them better capsuleers for your ranks. The big question is, has it worked? So, this is a pretty complex one, so bear with me. Here you're looking at the median average session length by session. No, wait. It's way more complicated than that. Sorry. It's the moving average of median session lengths in minutes by session over the last 4 months.
Oh Lord!
To make sure that our data team doesn't kill me after this. On the right, you can see the session numbers. The first really interesting line here is the orange line on the bottom. That's the median average first session. Back in 2018, when I was standing on the stage, this number was 13 minutes. And it's sitting at 27 minutes today, which is pretty huge. And this is no alts, just new players. And what's actually interesting here is that by giving people purpose, by teaching them how to mine and giving them, proper goals, we're actually starting to push up the sessions after the first session, which is really important. But this is pretty complex, and I can definitely simplify it. What this basically means is that people are playing. And because you love some graphs, let's see more. This is the percentage of first logons with market rating within the first 7 days. So players are taking more part in the economy. New players are taking more part in the economy. And if we look at young players' wealth, here we're looking at the 25th percentile of active wallets. Back in 2018, that number was sitting at 360,000, just over. But it's now at 609,000. So, new players are finding more ways to make money. And if we look at skill points in queues for alphas, back in 2018, there were 65,000 skill points. But today, we're at 950,000 skill points. And that's actually 1,361.54% growth. So, new players are planning for the future. It's great. But making EVE more accessible isn't all about adventures. No fantastic story will ever fix shifty UI, just like no fantastic UI will ever fix a shifty story.
The asteroid is depleted.
Quote from Jintan. Here, thank you. Sorry, I bastardized it. And we made massive investments, as you might have noticed, into UI and UX over the last few years. All with the goal of making EVE easier to understand and harder to master. We want to create more reasons to look at space, and we want to use common and persistent game elements throughout. And this is a huge task in developing this game for over 19 years. So, to take on that project and talk about it a little more, I want to welcome on stage CCP Unison, our lead UI designer. Please don't call him a graphic designer. We should much rather call him the head of mission control efficiency.
Hello guys, I'm so excited to see you all here. I'm pretty new to CCP and I'm one of those 60% that Gilmar talked about. This is my first Fanfest since I started, so super glad to be here. But I'm not new to EVE Online. My dad used to work at Ski1, which is the place that sold the first ever copy of EVE Online, and I remember him coming home on release date with a boxed copy of the game, and we were like super hyped playing it on our home PC together, like similar to this one here. I just wanted to show this to emphasize that it's been almost 20 years since the game came out, and 20 years is a long time in gaming and an even longer time in UI design. A lot changes in this time. And over 20 years of development, our UI had started to show its age. So in the beginning of last year, we asked ourselves, how do we prepare our UI for the third decade? What fundamentals do we need to fix to be able to move forward? When new players start playing EVE, they need to learn how to use our UI and know how to interact with it. We can look at our UI as a visual language. And if we do that, we don't want to be teaching German in one window and then have to teach Japanese in the next one. So as you can see here, our button library had become way overloaded with over 100 different styles. So we really needed to start by fixing the inconsistencies with the designs to be able to build upon it. Our answer to tackle this problem is Photon, our new design system. We released it on TQ in April, and we released it as an opt-in beta. The reason why we did that was to be able to get your feedback on it as early as we possibly could. After a month on TQ, we've had over a 5% adoption rate, which is a lot more than we expected. And we've gotten super valuable feedback from you guys. We've written blogs about it, posted videos, posted on our forums, and we're really grateful for the time and effort you put into it. So thank you for that. We're actively working on improvements for Photon based on your feedback. And the first big one we're tackling is the combat mode, which will tackle the issue of some windows taking up too much space. We're also working on improvements for the notification system for the Neocom, which will get rid of the infamous red dot. But we'll also tone down the constant blinking that we have in the Neocom today. After we've ironed out most of the kinks, we really look forward to bring more life and enjoyment into the UI with animations and enjoyable interactions, like this one here for the undock button. I just really would love to undock all day with this thing. It's quality of life improvements like these, combined with your valuable feedback, that we feel will make the difference for Photon. We're planning a nice update to it in June, with a full release in the coming fall. And after laying the foundation with Photon, we can look beyond the basics and how we can improve the immersion and sci-fi feel, for example, by giving players more reasons to look into space and interact with it. And we want to give people more enjoyable interactions, like in this example here, we will add depth and perspective to make it feel like it belongs more in the world that we're creating. We also want to look at how we interact with the core controls of the game. These are very, very early concepts and explorations to display how the heads-up display could work like an Eve. The HUD reacts to your needs and surroundings. We want to allow you for maximum flexibility. So if, for example, you want to have 4 overview windows open, we want you to be able to do that. Laying a good and consistent foundation with Photon will open up the opportunities for us to bring even more immersion and create a more visceral future for the UI in Eve. Thanks a lot, guys.
So much goodness. So, we've covered a lot of ways on how to make sure that our new capsuleers stick around and find their path in New Eden. But that's just half the challenge. It's also
the asteroid
about
is depleted.
finding these new recruits willing to take on the challenge of New Eden. And to dominate the world, you need to be everywhere. A couple of years ago, we announced Eve Anywhere, a cloud-based platform that allows Omega players to play Eve on any browser. Eve Anywhere is a game changer for Eve, as it keeps New Eden at your fingertips and allows you to log in from any computer and even cars. Please don't Eve and drive. Please. It's been amazing to see how well you guys have actually adopted this and given us incredibly important feedback to help us improve the experience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. After all this testing, we're at a place where we can actually start scaling up Eve Anywhere. We're actually going to velvet rope this scaling because we don't want things to go up in flame just yet, please. So starting May 16th, we are actually going to open up Eve Anywhere for alpha players in the territories that we're already serving. And then later this year, we will start to expand to new territories. So look out for that. Also, over the last few years, we've greatly improved our localized experience in EVE, with better tooling and better delivery, allowing more players to enjoy explosions in their own language. We've localized the game into Korean, and we're well on our way with our next localized language. Thank you. It's the most requested language by players, Spanish. The EVE Spanish-speaking community is super passionate. It's incredibly resourceful, and they love a good fight. I actually stole this picture from the biggest Spanish EVE community on Facebook. There are a fantastic bunch of people, and they dream about building their own alliance. So it's going to be pretty interesting where they claim their space. I wonder who is going to give up space for them. Every time we roll out a new language, we learn a lot. When we did Korean, we set up a Korean council, and we worked with a Korean publishing partner to really understand kind of player jargon, how Koreans play the game, kind of what were the niches, and so on. And we're doing the same thing with Spanish. We're setting up a Spanish player council to collaborate with, but we also want to try something new. Spanish is a very widely spoken language, so we're actually going to roll out an early batch of Spanish localization in September for the awesome community to give us proper feedback on the translation, with a full release later in the year. So, Spanish, woo! So, now that we've covered getting new recruits into your ranks, I think we should take a look at what you have been doing to each other over the last few years. To kick us off, please welcome the star, the legend, the nicest walk-in encyclopedia about EVE Online, my dear friend, CCP Swift.
Thank you, CCP Burger. I don't know about nicest walking encyclopedia, but I have been a student of EVE Online for since I've started playing in 2004. I am fascinated by the stories you tell. I was privileged enough to tell a few stories myself as a player, which was really fun. But we're pretty much the only game that has filled not one, but 2 history books just from player-created stories. Now, whether you're a new player, an old player, PvPer, explorer, builder, sometime in the last couple of years you've taken part in some sort of invasion. Yeah, there's been a few. The 2 notable ones, obviously, the Triglavian invasion, when the Triglavians came in and took 27 systems. And of course, a lot of you guys here in the audience were in World War II. Yeah. Frank's gone. It's fine. Each of these invasions had kind of different strategies, different metas, different stories, and of course different results. But there are some neat similarities, and whenever you guys tell a story, we are here to listen to it and kind of figure out how we can enable you to tell even better stories in the future. So yeah, First Blood at Raravos. So this is the first system that the Triglavians actually successfully took. I think this is where, for a lot of you guys, or at least for me, this is where it kind of clicked. Like the amount of chaos that EVE players could ensue over New Eden, watching this system go from high sec to low sec to null sec. People come in and die. Tens of thousands of you came in there to try and fight forward and fight against it. A lot of you streamers and content creators brought fleets in here. A lot of nullsec people came in and brought fleets in here just to have a good time. And yeah, if Raravos was where you guys figured out that you could create chaos, Niarja is where you guys completely broke through everything. Some incredible players at the Arataka Research Consortium. I know I saw Uriel in here somewhere, but I know there's a few of you. When the Triglavians were invading, they were able to kind of map out and find kind of systems that it might work for, and the Arja was a candidate. And of course, when push came to shove,
the asteroid is
no one
depleted.
could really stop this from happening.
The asteroid is depleted.
This is a really handy connection between Jita and Amar. It's the only way to connect these two regions together. Wouldn't it be cool if we just broke it for fun? Yeah. And then you did, and it was miserable for a lot of people. But I think that makes Eve players Eve players. But yeah, this is kind of where really you guys left your mark, your indelible mark, onto New Eden. But that's not the only invasion. Although some of you guys were in both of them. In fact, many of you were. These two kind of did overlap quite a bit. In the summer of 2020, Nullsec feels like everywhere went to war. They went south. And again, just like in the Triglavian invasion, there were some interesting strategies, stories, and results. This one is probably my favorite. The game is super old. You guys are very, very adept at coming up with strategies and new ways to kind of trap and kill one another. But Operation Enno was something just completely different, something that Eve had never seen before. If you're unfamiliar, the Imperium baited out a Pappy super capital fleet, and then they logged on Titans that were just like pristinely located to try and doomsday them and get them all at once. So it didn't quite work, but I know as someone who was in a Nix getting doomsdayed, I was like, oh shit. And this is just like one of my favorite moments. It shows the sheer creativity of Eve players. When we introduced like these doomsdays, no one would have suspected that Eve players would come up with something like this. Incredibly inventive people. But they're not the only ones. As Pappy were getting their foothold into Delve, incredible, literal record-breaking fights broke out. FWST, YZ9, they were long, they were bloody, they broke records, and it was nuts just to see how the FCs and the players adapted day to day, week to week. Pappy said, hey, I see what these guys are doing, they're warping carriers in. Why don't we just use these bubbles? What could go wrong? And then the Keepstar kind of went up. Just amazing ingenuity. Sometimes you think you've got the game figured out, but Eve is very good at humbling you and letting you know that, hey, someone's going to come up with a better idea just around the corner. And you guys are all motivated to come up with the next great idea. So if I were to like write slides for all the cool things we learned at CCP, the keynote would be about 6 hours long, and they said I couldn't do that. But we did learn quite a bit about these two invasions and kind of learned about how you guys as players interacted. And like I said, when you guys tell stories, we want to listen and kind of give you more about that. So yeah, you guys, completely unpredictable. I was telling someone who didn't really quite understand Eve how ship balance works and how game balance works. And I said, okay, well, if you give Eve players a piece of wood, you might expect like a spear, a sword, something to smack someone with, because, you know, they're notorious for that. Nope, Eve players would surprise you and build like a bike. You don't know how they did it, but they did it. And now you're like, okay, so they built a bike. I'll give them this rock now. It's new. They're gonna build some sort of cool car with it or something. Nope. You guys will build some sort of like trebuchet, and then that's how you'll use this rock that we gave you. But one thing is true. If we give you sand and tools to mess with the sandbox, you guys will tell amazing stories and just use these tools in ways that we could never imagine. And that's something that we want to keep doing. And so CCP Burger, tell us a little bit more about how that's going to work out.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we want to do. We want to give you tools to tell amazing stories, and to create new bonds, and we want New Eve to respond to your actions. And how did we get there? As you mentioned a few months ago, we're moving away from corporates.
Docking permission requested.
At the invasion arc, there were a lot of big and small problems that we had to kind of...
Docking request accepted.
When we were identifying these issues, we saw that like splitting the year up into 4 would really help us all. It allowed us to tackle really big things like AFA closure, missions, events, new objectives to fight over, new sites, so on and so on and so on. We tackled a lot of hard problems, while at the same time rolling out regular events and ship balance updates. But now, with our foundation even more solid, our design team has more freedom to work on this solid base. But we're actually going to go into that a little bit more later. Throughout Quadrants, the biggest and most difficult project we took on was resource distribution and gathering. It's a monumental project that really helps us set up for the third decade. To go deeper into this and the effect of this change, and what it means to have a solid foundation, I want to welcome onto the stage a really dear friend of mine. We used to be team together. We mostly asked for forgiveness rather than permission. It's my dear CCP Larrikin. Look at this today. Look at this. What could possibly go wrong?
So, those of you who look at their monthly economic report, this will probably look a little bit familiar. This is a volume of ore that has been mined over the last year. Specifically, this is all ore that you can refine and turn into spaceship modules. So that's all from asteroid belts, all from moons, anything like that. And we're going to dig into this data a little bit more. To start with, we're going to go back 10 years. So this is all the way back to 2012. And to make it easier to explore this data, we're going to define some time periods. So at the moment, we're in New Dawn. Prior to that is the infamous shortage phase. Before that is the reign of the Rorqual, and we'll be talking about why it's called that shortly. And before that, we also have, during the reign of the Rorqual, during this little red period here, that was actually what Blackout did to the ore being mined. And before that, we have the historic phase. So to continue our exploration, we're going to break down the volume of ore mined by each ship type. So this is mining barges. Pretty simple. In blue, we have exhumers. In yellow, we have every other single ship that has ever fitted a mining laser and mined, excluding the Rorqual. In fact, during the reign of the Rorquals mined more cubic meters of ore than every other ship combined. And they did it with less players too. In fact, during the reign of the Rorqual, there was about 48,000 unique characters flying Rorquals compared to 1.6 million flying all the other ship types. So, what happened to all this ore? Where did it go? What did you guys do with it? Well, we're going to look at subcapital ship production by hull size. And don't get me wrong, there's certainly variation during this time period, but on the whole, subcapital ship production has actually been pretty stable. What about capitals? This is just super capitals. And during the reign of the Rorqual, on one single day, there were 29 Titans delivered and 47 supercarriers. This is not sustainable. It was a massive concentration of wealth and resources. Now, the goal of shortage phase was the democratization of the economy, spread that wealth out a little bit. And are we there yet? No, we have some work to do, especially around capitals, as this graph will definitely show. But we're working on it. But we're getting there. We've seen a 10 to 20% increase in the daily volume of ore mined by each character. We've seen a 8 to 16% increase for mining barges. And we've seen a 30% increase for mining exhumers. And perhaps more importantly, the distribution of ore being mined by region is a little better in New Dawn compared to the reign of the Rorqual. During the reign of the Rorqual, one single region produced 27% of all ore. mining is just one part of the complex ecosystem, complex economy. And we're looking at more than just mining, and we're constantly tweaking. But ultimately, we believe that a more equitable distribution of resources results in more players in space, and more players in space makes for a better EVE Online for everyone. If you want to know more, please come to the data presentation roundtable. Cheers.
Equitable distribution of resources. Larkin, really make EVE sound like spreadsheets in space. It's hard to be a creative director sometimes when the spreadsheet long. But you know, as you all know, strategic plans.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
And we've seen corporations and alliances actually invest a lot into data, you know, for intelligence or efficiency or and the initial knowledge and cost of setting up these systems can be pretty daunting for small groups. And with this in mind, we actually reached out to our friends at Access. I'm not lying. We actually reached out to them and they were like, "Oh my God, we love EVE!" Like I was saying, data is massively
Warp drive active.
And by simplifying the access to data for all, we level the playground when it comes to the tools of the sandbox. With Microsoft, we're building an extension that will allow players to log in and pull data directly into Excel.
Warp drive active.
It's not April Fool's, this is for real. And this is a real prototype working. If it's for, you know, satisfying your curiosity, if it's for, you know, maximize your industrial enterprise or managing your frontline warfare, it's in your hands to create the tools for your advancement. This is still in early phase, and we look forward to sharing more later in the year. But this is pretty wild stuff.
Warp drive active.
Even though many claim that mining is a numbers game, we want to give you more reasons to look at space. And through our experience, we've been developing a lot of new tools. Among others, a new way to create human experiments in space. We want to dress up the mining scenes. We want to make them exciting. We want to make them fun to look at and engaging. To begin with, you will not be able to interact with those megaloids, but you know, who knows what the future brings. And on the topic of visuals, one of EVE's signature is the consistent and beautiful visuals and audio. The visual experience is a key contributor on our vision pillar of the ultimate sci-fi experience, where capsuleers are transferred from the day-to-day to 21,000 years into the future. Audio and visuals are an evolving moving target, with new technology unlocking new ways to make the world even more beautiful. Therefore, to set up for the third decade, it's important to never settle into set ways and be constantly searching, pushing, and re-evaluating how we present new EVE. And to tell you more about that, and give you a small glimpse into the future of EVE, I want to invite the wizard CCP Mirkur, that through his beautiful magic makes everything fun to blow up. And his enabler, CCP Cafe, who allows you all to blow up a lot of stuff at the same time. Take it away.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely fantastic seeing people in person. It's been a crazy few years, that's for sure.
Great to be back at Fanfest, guys.
Absolutely. So the last few years for us, we've made some absolutely massive technical investments in the EVE client. In 2020, we went 64-bit entirely. There's not a single bit of 32-bit code. left in EVE Online. So this was really focusing on cleaning up some of that technical debt, which we all joke about and has been kicking around for a long time, and we finally got there. This offers much better performance, especially in those kind of big wars that you keep having. You can bring more ships than ever after this 64-bit upgrade. With the foundation set, we were finally able to port EVE Online natively to an entirely different operating system where we released the native Mac client. There is way more Mac players than most people realise. Very, very popular with EVE players. So we did the 64-bit, we ported it to Mac OS, we rebuilt our entire pipeline internally, we rebuilt the client, and again, we removed a massive amount of technical debt for this. We could finally say goodbye to our old wine client, and if there were Mac users in here that used that wine client, we know it was in a bit of a bad state. So hopefully this has improved it. We also launched with M1 support from day one. This was great. It had a massive uptake, way bigger again than we actually thought it would be. And the Mac client is now on par in terms of how it looks and how it plays with our Windows client. Actually, with one exception, and that is to skill plans, which is coming in the release next month. As part of this work, we really started the main development to make EVE as platform agnostic as possible, so we're in the best situation we could ever be in if we want to target other operating systems and other architectures in the future. Once we released the Mac client, we could finally get rid of DirectX 9. So I don't know how many of you have the original box, I believe, and many of you in the crowd. Cool. So if you actually check out the disk on that, we had to install DirectX 9 as part of the EVE installation. It's been with us basically from the start. It's the best part of 20 years old, DirectX 9. It was taking up significant development resources internally, and we couldn't offer a lot of the features that we wanted to offer you on DirectX 9. Every single feature we wanted to put into EVE needed an implementation for this. Opportunity cost for it was just too great. On the plus side, by removing DirectX 9, it does mean now we can focus on bringing you DirectX 12, which will be shipping this year. We have a working version internally. We'll be announcing the mass tests for this very shortly. It's actually not far off. So while we're excited to be shipping DirectX 12 to you and looking at what we can bring to you, we have managed to ship some pretty big graphical updates this year on our current tech. Updates like
bring out EVE's colors, which saw us delete the gray and deepen EVE's open colors to a much wider range by updating our tone mode. There's something much nicer, as you can see right here. There we also adjust the overall look of EVE, updating our shaders to take in more of the environment. Ships now really feel like they're inside. Wherever you are in the universe, they look like they're living. And after all, one of the pillars of EVE Online since the very beginning has been the pursuit of beautiful graphics. And our investments into the tools to make those over the last couple of years accumulated and paid massive dividends in upping the quality of the new player experience, paving the path with exciting and dynamic visuals, as well as engaging first steps content for your soldiers and troops of tomorrow to walk down. And even if the new player experience is the catalyst, then in the long run, everyone will benefit. Just a short while ago, we spent time on improving our reflections in aid to make these environments look even better. More things are now reflected in real time, and this is cool because you can see things like explosions reflect on ships now. Things like wormholes also now reflecting on your ships. Sino beacons, stations, jump gates, they're all included in reflections. These little additions across the game make EVE just, that little bit realistic. So where you are, things are reflected.
what's next? Just a disclaimer that everything that you see is progress is subject to change. So the first one, and as a player myself, I'm super excited for this one, is high resolution nebulas. This is coming in the June release. We've doubled the resolution. There's significantly less banding, and we've also changed the type of compression that we use. And these look absolutely amazing in game. We've also entirely overhauled what we call our level of detail system. So all games use this. If you're not familiar with it, it's how we render things like polygons and textures based on the distance from the camera. The new system that we're using has been rewritten from scratch because the existing one is it's as old as the game itself. I think it's 19 years old, so it needed a bit of love. We used to have 3 levels before, and that's actually quite restrictive for the artists. Now we've got as many as we need. This feeds really nicely into being able to make absolutely huge scenes. It also allows us to do things like automatic switching. So I'm sure we've all seen this in the client at the moment. Change a camera and things will kind of snap in between different models. That will be gone. Also, better performance. And this is particularly noticeable for anyone on a mid or a low-end machine, because we have to render less polygons now, you get a higher frame rate. And also, we can create higher fidelity meshes. You may have already seen a few sneak peeks of these in some of the slides already. The LOD improvements aren't just about polygons though. They also relate to things like textures and how we instance things inside of the game. So previously, we could only ever change a texture on a model when we change the model. That's no longer the case. We can change them independently. Doesn't sound like much, but that's an absolute massive boom to being able to do things like put 1,000 keep star on grid and then fly through them without any performance impact, compared to what we had before anyway. Please don't try and do that. That's not a challenge. We've not shipped it yet. I know that you're going to use it in a way we haven't predicted and then probably have to redevelop a few things. But it's absolutely awesome. We can genuinely make these huge areas of space now with models that are absolutely massive. It also feeds into other things like attachments, which you're probably very familiar with from turrets, and also things like particle systems. They really leverage the advantage of this.
One of these new things is lit particles. We just implemented these for us to start using, which for my visual effects artist itself is just like, it's an exciting time. It's great. And this is an example of what that might look like. This basically means that newly authored particle systems can now receive light from nearby light sources or from the local star. And expect us to get a lot better at using these over time. Right now it's very much early days, but I think you can see this holds a lot of promise. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've always really enjoyed this one particular moment from the birth of the capsule year trailer. Our cinematics team did a great job as usual, and we've been thinking, could we do something like that in game? Something inspired by that. You want to see what we have so far? Now, okay, I have to say a couple things first.
Docking permission requested.
In the following video, just focus on the ship. Some parts have been sped up.
Docking request accepted.
So let's get the audio on this. Let's go. Yeah, I forgot to click. Well, anyways, this is just a little part of what investing in our foundations brings. Investing in our engine, in our tooling, and we're doing a lot of that, which is giving us the ability, unlocking and enabling us to do things that are simply higher quality, simply way cooler, and more awesome things than ever before. And this all leads into the Eve of tomorrow being more beautiful, a more immersive and visceral experience.
Of course, this is a lot of graphical enhancements that we're putting in the client, and we want to make sure as many people as possible can enjoy these. So one of the integrations that we'll be doing this year is AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution, which will allow you to play the game at a higher resolution at a lower performance cost. In addition to that, we'll also be adding FreeSync. So if you have a FreeSync compatible monitor, you'll be able to enjoy the smoothest experience so far without any screen tearing whatsoever.
If you like some of that and you want to know more, or just happen to enjoy pleasingly arranged pixels and want to see what we're planning on doing with them, then come to the Art of Eve into the third decade presentation right in this room at 3 p.m. today. We have a presentation that is absolutely packed to the brim to show you. And stop by the art corner, somewhere up there in the building, and say hi. The artists, they don't bite. They want to hear from you.
If you're interested on how we build EVE Online, the journey to a native Mac client, or perhaps you just want to chat about DirectX, then drop by at the round table tomorrow at 2, and we would love to hear any ideas that you've got as well as show you what we're working on. Thank you, Fanfest.
Beautiful stuff. So, when trying to understand New Eden, it's really good to look at the city. The city has plenty of system functions, like buildings, infrastructure, schools, and so on. And then, on top of it, the city has its inhabitants, people, animals, plants, trees. The actual city happens at the intersection of the two, filled with agenda, emotion, compromise, and so on. You have the more secure parts of town where you can go about your business without too much harassment. But there's always the east side, if you're into that. Each player and classic empire of EVE can be viewed as a city-state, where interests of each faction is built around their beliefs, their needs, and their needs drive their agenda. Conflict or compromise, it's in your hands to navigate. But unlike the real city, our inhabitants' ability to shape the world is quite limited. We strive to create virtual worlds more meaningful than real life, and in many ways we do. You guys seem to like the game and the world. Friendships are formed, big achievements conquered, beautiful things are built and then destroyed, as it should. But once you look past the incredible player simulation, the world is pretty static and predictable. You'll always have multiple parallel simulations going on at the same time. But it's time to elevate empire and leadership simulation. We use this as basis for 3 vision pillars for challenging you all, the core. I belong here. I want to take you a few years into the future again to talk a little more about it. New Eden is colored by the people that occupy it. Inhabitants claim their stake and become masters of their surroundings. EVE Online is and has always been about people dealing with people. And this goes way beyond PvP or trade. From selecting another player to entering a new space, you can always read the story. From metals showing achievements, to megastructures honoring the rulers of that given system. Cruel but fair. New Eden's rules of engagement are clear and consistent, and I can apply the knowledge from one part to the next. The real difference lies in the environment and the people that occupy each system. Even though some of the changes are out of my area of control, I feel my influence shape the outcome of it. When things go wrong, I can see how vibrant metropolis. New Eden is a playground where systems and emotions build a perfect vibrant metropolis. As you travel through the regions, you're reminded of Earth cities from 21,000 years ago, where the streets tell the story of the people that have claimed it their home. And just like the city, it never stops. It's in your hands to shape to your needs. EVE Online happens when the constraints of the system meets the dwellers of New Eden. The universe is alive and kicking, and it's in our hands to make it what we want. If its